Hello, hello.
Good evening.
Good evening, John. Hi. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. What about yourself, Headley?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm having internet problems, and this probably will freeze and fall apart. You know, I've got to stoke the boiler and
Stop being so defeatist.
Well, you know, I'm just letting people know that it's probably going to go all tits up. Right. So we were going to do this a couple of weeks ago, weren't we? And I basically said I don't feel up for it. I'm knackered. And you refused to show me any of the records, like some truculent little teenager that wanted to take his ball home with him.
That's right. You know, well, I don't do anything, Headley, unless I'm being filmed. You know that.
Yeah, that's what your wife says.
You know that. Proper prima donna.
Right. Okay. So we're going to show a handful of records that we've been listening to. Some of them are new for me, anyway. Some of them are new. Some of them are old. I've probably got a handful here. So I'll start with this. It would be white. There you go.
Okay.
That's Los Coronas. Los Coronas. Turn that on.
I've actually just had that. I've had Los Coronas for a week or so. Yeah, I'm just getting better now. So yeah, just shifting it.
So Los Coronas. This is called Adios, Sancho.
Mm.
And they are a Spanish surf rock group, basically. They've been going since the late 90s. This is from 2013. But with this one, it's, although obviously they're Spanish, previously bits of flamenco and stuff like that would get in just because it was kind of, you know, ingrained in them. Whereas this, they go full out and turn it into a bit of a mariachi, Ennio Morricone surf rock album. And the interesting thing, this is horrible. Let me see if I can do that. That's a bit better.
There you go.
That's a bit better. So yeah, now the interesting thing about this is this is produced by Craig Schumacher. Do I mean Craig Schumacher? Yes, I do. Who's a guy that's worked with Calexico, and so it's no surprise that this sounds quite a lot in places like Calexico, and yeah, really nice sort of stuff. Some of it's a bit more surfy, some of it's a bit more Ennio Morricone, but I actually ended up getting this from Spain because I couldn't get a copy in this country. I don't think it's been released here. I think that's why. I mean, even the cover, looks like a Calexico, and with that,
it does, yeah.
It does look like a
when you describe the mariachi flavor on it, then I immediately thought of Calexico.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you say the artwork as well. It's the same style, isn't it? Similar style.
Yeah, I mean it's you know it's good fun. I mean it's one of those albums that you can put on and just really enjoy. It's not gonna you know scare you or give you any epiphanies or anything like that. But it's good fun.
So where did you hear about that one?
I think it's one of those things where I was on a website or streaming stuff, and I streamed a number of their albums and just discovered it and went, oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, and it's ridiculous that you could actually get a copy sent from, I think probably paid about 15 quid postage entirely from Spain. So. So what do you got then, John?
Right, okay, so I actually have the same pile of records that I had 2 weeks ago that I refused to show you.
Oh, and I don't want to see those. I don't want to see them, John. I want new ones. I don't want regurgitated records.
I haven't got any new records. Right. Okay. So Headley, do you ever have records that you get a little bit obsessed with, that get stuck to the turntable?
Yeah.
And you put the nib down on side one, you flip it over and play side two, and then back to the beginning again. Yes. And that goes round and round and round and round for weeks.
Yes.
Well, that hasn't happened to me in ages. However, this album. Now I know that you've got this record because I was with you when you bought your copy.
Yes.
You bought it at Leeds, didn't you? So basically I picked this up last summer from a local record shop. And the reason why I bought it was because I had tickets to see the Waterboys play at the Moseley Folk Festival last September. They were headlining. They also had the Wonder Stuff playing. Great day out. So I went along with a mate. We're not really expecting too much because the Waterboys, to me, I never thought I'd ever need anything more than their best of. I always thought, best of the Waterboys, that'll do me. I'll never need any one of their albums anyway. So seeing the gig, I thought, well, I saw this pretty cheap. I'll pick it up. And, sure enough, last summer I played it a couple of times, quite enjoyed it. I was probably pottering around the house when I was listening to it. Anyway, I went to the gig and they totally blew me away. So they opened with The Whole of the Moon.
Mm.
Then they
That's good.
Yeah, then they went
out of the way. Get the hit out of the way.
Well, this is it. They opened with The Whole of the Moon. Then they went into A Girl Called Johnny. Then they went into This Is the Sea. By which point I was just totally put in their hands. You know what I mean? It was it was a masterclass. It's fantastic. So, and following that, a friend of mine bought me Mike Scott's autobiography, which was great read. He writes really well. And whilst I was reading that, I chucked this on the turntable again, and it literally stayed on the turntable for about a month because I got a little bit obsessed with it. Now, it's quite interesting as well because since then I've tried to listen to the best of the Waterboys again, and I can't because I only want to hear these songs in this context. They don't sound right sitting next to The Whole of the Moon and whatever else. What's the tune? The big music.
The big music.
Stuff,
Yes.
Yeah. So, but as an album, a fully formed record, this is very quickly becoming one of my favourite records. Absolutely fantastic. And I say, I've become a little bit obsessed with it. And I went through a stage for about a month of just playing this.
Well, that was
what was interesting. Sorry.
No. You would say what was interesting. Come on.
Yeah. So
get to that point.
I was reading his autobiography, and he was talking about The Whole of the Moon, right? And he was basically saying he was with his girlfriend in New York, walking out one night, and she asked him the question, is it easy to write songs? Which, of course, the answer is yes, no, maybe, sometimes, whatever, And, of course, he wants to impress his girlfriend. So he said, of course it is. Whatever. She goes, well, can you write me a song?
No.
So he looks up in the sky, whatever, sort of thing, moon's there. And he said, well, the first thing I do is come up with a title. And he said, well, how about The Whole of the Moon? And then while he was there, he came up with a line, I saw the crescent, but you saw the whole of the moon. That's all he got. But That's basically what it going. And obviously he went away then and wrote the whole song. And it's a brilliant love song. It really is. And it just made me think how many classic songs have been written just to impress a girl or a boy or a member of the opposite sex or of the same sex, whatever, And because that's basically, in a nutshell, what that was,
Yeah, no, you're right. It's interesting though. It's funny when you listen to music that is, a love song. There's something kind of unique because that's almost like pop music was invented for. When I've got a CD that I've got in the car of some stuff from Starday Records from the 1960s, and 90% of them are love songs of one description or another, and there's something quite nice about it's a bit like Northern Soul. There's very little in the Northern Soul repertoire that differs from being some sort of love song, really, is there?
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
So but sometimes we get hung up on since Dylan, we get that songs have to have some incredible meaning or something, but it forgets how universal a love song can be. and how perfectly encapsulating a moment or a feel that they can actually be, without, you know, doing 15 minutes of 82 verses about, I don't know, socioeconomic policy in Guatemala.
Exactly that, but also as well, most love songs are about unrequited love. You know, it's that girl that you want but you can't have type thing, and that's why Stevie Wonder is an absolute genius, because all of his love songs are positive love songs. You know, I was made to love her. You know, signed, sealed, delivered, I'm yours. One after the other. They're great positive love songs. You can play any of them at a wedding. You know, none of them are Band of Gold. You know what I mean?
There's not one where you go, you know, actually, if you read the subtext of what it's actually about, it's like, you know, like the Police, Every Step You Take, which is, you know, played at all these weddings and things, and
it's actually about stalking.
That's right, but okay. Now I've been doing exactly what James Griffiths has decided he's going to try not to do, which is namely to buy vinyl copies of albums he has on CD. And there's sense to that. I understand it completely, but I also can't stick to that. And I've had a bit of a go at this. So I picked up this recently, which is another white record, which can't be seen. And so this is the Apples in Stereo. What's it called? It's called the Discovery of the World Inside the Moon with an E. And I love the cover.
You might need to turn your light out again.
There you are.
You might need to turn your light out.
I will turn my light out. There we go. Ooh.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's a bit gloomy, isn't it? I need to sort out my lighting. I need my spotlight. So
what that looks like, Headley, it looks like the plans to your new self-build, that does.
It is. And that's what I love about the album. It's almost like that because it's a very avant-garde looking house, very sort of pointy and things. And on the back you've got a sort of a showing you, oh man, this is awful, isn't it?
If you get it at the right angle, you're all right.
That you've got the inside of the house. Anyway, I'm talking about the cover rather than, and it kind of does what, and then on the inside you've got this like very old-fashioned sort of abstract painting, and it's almost like that's what you're doing here. It's like they're reconfiguring pop music and from the 60s, but actually in itself it's all just inside it's the same old thing. So the Apples in Stereo were part of the Elephant Six collective. In fact, the guy Schneider, who's the main guy in the Apples in Stereo, was one of the founders of the Elephant Six. Are you familiar with the Elephant Six?
No, not
for anyone, for anyone out there that doesn't know, the Elephant Six was a sort of a collective that started, I think, in Louisiana, but then it sort of moved around. I think potentially these were formed in Colorado, Denver, Colorado, and they had a manifesto. They took, you know, like the Surrealist manifesto. They wrote their own the Dogma film one. They wrote their own manifesto, and unfortunately, I can't find a copy of it. But apparently, it was more of a case of, hey, this is what we do. Join us. It wasn't a strict kind of, if you do this, you do that, you're out. It was basically a sort of a call to arms of saying, if you like 60s psychedelia and pop music and the Beatles and the Who and things like that, join us, because that's what we like listening to. And it's almost like that this was actually, at the time, it was a reaction almost to grunge. Because, you know, you had grunge happening at this. This is from 2000, but I think that, you know, it originally started in the early 90s. Almost as a reaction, you know, they say that they were trying to get away from grunge in the same way almost that Britpop did. Britpop looked back. You know, grunge, I suppose, was looking forward, was developing a new sound and different things. Yeah. And Britpop kind of came along and said, no, let's look at the Beatles and the Who and the Kinks and things like that. And that's kind of what they were doing. But they were looking at the Beach Boys, Todd Rundgren, things like that. And so it's a very similar kind of movement, really, to Britpop. Yeah, it's probably why I like this stuff. Olivia Tremor Control and Natural Milk Hotel, Beulah, they were all also on the classed as being part of this Elephant Six collective. But this is a lovely album of just sort of power pop, psychedelic, just indie pop, really. It's just really well done. I think I first heard this. Do you remember the listening posts that they used to have? I think actually it was at the listening post at the HMV at Oxford Street in London. Right. And I think I went and listened. There's a couple of records I bought on the back, or CDs, at the time, on the back of simply listening to that and going, wow. It's almost like that they wouldn't play any of this music over that was all stuff, that's pop music that was in the charts or that they're trying to flog, Whereas the little listening posts were sort of, I don't know who curated it. It was, you felt that they were special. They were special records that no one else would know about, and they were just this little thing, and you could sit there listening to it and clicking through the tracks. They were great with those.
I can think of 3 albums that I bought exactly as you described there, purely because I saw them on a listening post, and I thought I'll spend half an hour and have a listen to a few things. And we had a Tower Records, a very small Tower Records open up in Birmingham, very briefly. And they had listening posts in there. And I bought the Nightmares on Wax album, Car Boot Soul. And the same day, I bought the Graham Parsons tribute album that was done by Emmylou Harris.
Oh, yes.
It's called Grievous Angel, I think it's called. And basically, I remember playing the second track, which is the Cowboy Junkies doing Las Vegas. And I listened to the whole thing on the listening post, and then played it again. And then again, I thought, I've got to buy this CD, So, and the other one that I remember is the first St. Vincent album. I remember buying that on the back of hearing that. So, there you go.
Yeah, I think one of the other ones I got was a group called Black Heart Procession, who were kind of a bit Nick Cavey, a bit sort of, not as poppy and popular as that. In fact, I think I bought them on the same day. I think I literally bought 2 records on the back of that. But it's funny because it's almost like streaming now, isn't it? But you had to go to a record shop to do that, not in the comfort of your own home.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that was what was it? That was The Apples in Stereo. It's Discovery of the World Inside the Moon. It's a repress from a couple of years ago, but it was from 2000.
There's a party going down, all your friends are going round. No, you wanna go, baby. Moment that you get there, as the people that you know act like monkeys in a row. No, you wanna go, baby. The moment that you get there, you're such a pretty little girl. Let's blow this ugly little world.
Very nice. Right.
Ooh.
Kirsty MacColl and Kite. So basically, I think I've only ever had a best of Kirsty MacColl. And I bought this off a mate, actually, was clearing out some records a month or so ago. And the one thing I'll say about Kirsty MacColl is that I think she understood how to use her voice as well as any artist that I can think of. She didn't have a particularly big voice, but I remember reading an interview with Johnny Marr talking about Kirsty MacColl singing on the Smiths song. So they did a cover of Golden Lights, the old Twinkle tune, and they recorded the music and they invited Kirsty MacColl in, and the basis everybody sat in wonder while she sat there and kept layering her voice one after the other over the top to create this massive wall of sound. And she clearly really understood her voice as an instrument and how to use it, and how to layer it. And the only person that I think that I can think of, other than soul singers, that's something slightly different, but other than I say soul singers, it would probably be something like Sinead O'Connor. She has that emotion in her voice. She knows how to use it, I think, as well as anyone. Yeah,
it's Emmylou Harris. Emmylou Harris as well, I think, is someone that can do that.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah. Now, I say Kirsty MacColl, obviously she's made her own records, and she also featured on other artists such as the Smiths, but also Billy Bragg and such like. And I can honestly say that whatever she worked on, she made that song better. Whatever she contributed to, she improved that song. You know, she really was a talent. Obviously, a terrible loss when she passed away probably 20 years ago now. But this is an album that I've heard many times over the years, but I've never owned. And it includes stuff like her version of Days, the Kinks song, Don't Come the Cowboy with Me, Sonny Jim, The End of a Perfect Day. It's a gorgeous record. And I remember reading an interview with Kirsty MacColl, actually, saying that when she recorded her debut, obviously her father, Ewan MacColl, obviously from folk circles, did he write Dirty Old Town and That's First Time Ever I Saw Your Face, stuff like that.
You nearly said Dirty Old Man, didn't you?
There you go. No, but the first time she played in the record, he sat down in silence, and all he was interested in was the lyric sheet, and he sat there reading the lyrics whilst the record was playing. And talk about pressure. Do you know what I mean?
Difficult, isn't it?
It's difficult, but
it's interesting because, of course, Ali Campbell from UB40, his father was a big folkie, Alex Campbell. So there must be a similar thing. Yeah. But then them doing something completely different, you know, from their fathers, and just it must be really difficult to do that, you know, to face that sort of scrutiny. I'm probably someone's going to say that's complete nonsense. Ali Campbell is not Alex Campbell's son. I'm pretty sure he is, though.
I didn't know that, you know. So, but it's fascinating. But yeah, Kirsty MacColl. I have a few of her albums. I would like to own everything because I just find her music wonderful.
I have some singles of hers. I've never really bought. I think the thing is, and it's probably her strength, is that she doesn't have a style. There isn't something that you can go, with a Kirsty MacColl record, you know what you're going to get. That it's that, you know, one song will be, you know, like a country song. One will be a kind of a Latin fueled thing, and I think maybe that's a slight thing that maybe has sort of meant I haven't actually, you know, looked at her albums. I do like the story about when Tracy Ullman did what's the song? You don't know about you don't know about us. You've never heard of us. Yeah. What's it called? I can't remember what it's called. But there's that line where she sort of screams really high, baby. Yes. And they were recording it and it just couldn't do it. And then they went, let's just get Kirsty MacColl in. So that's Kirsty MacColl singing the line baby on
Is it really?
in Tracy Ullman's version of her song. Yeah. She couldn't do it.
Because the other thing about Kirsty MacColl is obviously her husband was her ex-husband, Steve Lillywhite, obviously the producer who produced.
Did he produce
obviously many of her records? But he also produced. He worked on likes of the Joshua Tree, U2, of course, and obviously U2 spent ages recording the Joshua Tree. And once they got all the tracks recorded, nobody could come up with a sequence for the running order for the album, and they spent weeks on this, and nobody came up with it. And basically, Kirsty MacColl sat down one day, and she made a list, and she goes, "There it is," and they looked at it and said, "You're right," you know. And she basically said that she just put them in order of her favourite songs, starting off with "Where Does Her Name," starting from "What I'm Looking For," "With or Without You," and so the running order of the Joshua Tree is just basically a list in order of Kirsty MacColl's favourite U2 songs from that period. Fantastic, you know. So yeah,
that must be why I've never got through the whole album.
Well, that is it. I mean, it's front loaded. You know, we talk about this a lot. You know, the Joshua Tree is definitely front loaded. Yeah, it is. Yeah. The big three tunes, the big three singles are up front.
Yeah, it's a good idea though, isn't it? It's a good one.
Some boys with warm beds and cold, cold hearts to make you feel nothing at all. They'll never remember and they'll never mind if you're counting the cracks in the wall. They're quick and they're greedy, they never feel guilty, they don't know just go back on the suds that had stayed on. The next time they see you, they treat you like dust. The next time they treat you like dust. Now don't come the cowboy with me, Sonny Jim. I know lots of those and you're not one of them. There's a light in your eyes, tells me somebody's in it. You won't come the cowboy with me.
Right, so continuing on my my thing of ignoring James's new credo to not buy records that you have on CD. I bought this the other day, Smog, Knock Knock, which was probably the first album I heard by him. So this was originally from about 99, I think it was released, this one.
Yeah.
And I think probably I heard it via Uncut magazine or something like that.
Yeah.
Or Mojo maybe. And this is Bill Callahan, who's now recording under his own name, but basically it was him anyway, even though it was called Smog. And I love this cover as well. It's great. I love this one where it's got some kids being harassed by another. That's great. But yeah, he's a sort. I mean, I suppose I got to like. He always got lumped in with a lot of the old country stuff, and there is a country-esque kind of feel to it, a folky stuff. But that's quite simplistic kind of way of looking at it. But yeah, a bit Pavement, obviously influenced by that. But this is a cracking record, and it sounds. And I tell you what's interesting was that I started to listen to the new Spoon album the other day, and I put it on, and I listened to the first track, and I went, this sounds familiar, and I worked out it's Held, which is one of the songs on this. So they start their new album with a Bill Callahan song. That's a bit of a weird.
Oh right,
weird
it is, yeah.
But yeah, so it's nice to hear their version of it. But it's a cracking album. Not quite as lo-fi as his earlier stuff, but certainly a little bit more. He's just done an album with Bonnie Prince Billy now.
Yeah.
And there's a whole collection of them. So Songs Ahoy, Palace Music, Will Oldham, Bill Callahan. I discovered them all around the same time, and they had this wonderful sort of folk country kind of lo-fi indie thing, and it was a real great period for that sort of end of the 90s, just listening to some of this stuff. Yeah, great. So that was really nice. Bought it really cheap, so I had to get it. I hate it when something's so cheap you just can't turn it down.
But the so I think that would probably be my introduction to Bill Callahan. I don't know a great deal of his music, but again, through Uncut magazine, that's how I came across that record. And I think the song Cold Blooded Old Times was on. Yeah, probably. Was on a free CD. But the thing that I think about when I listen to his music, obviously he's a great songwriter, but it's his voice. He has a wonderful voice. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'd like to hear that new Bonnie Prince Billy and Bill Callahan record, but I haven't played that yet.
Well, his last record, I think it was called the Gold Album. I think it was called, the Gold Record. I can't remember. And it actually starts because he's got this really sonorous baritone voice that sounds like Johnny Cash, and he actually starts that album by going, "Hello, I'm Johnny Cash," and you go,
"Oh, really?
Yeah." It's just amazing. It's like, oh, yeah, all right then. Sounds like, yes. Yeah, good stuff.